Our chief equity strategist and economist John Blank says there are 4 ways to watch for a U.S. recession, and he's here with us now to explain. John, what are those 4 ways?
Well, Terry, you can go to the Federal Reserve of St. Louis Fred system, FRED. You can find that online by just doing the St. Louis Fred system. And they're going to give you 4 recession indicators. I'll go through the ones by popularity. So the number 1 is the SOM rule, which you probably heard is about the moving average, half a point or more on the 3-month average unemployment rate, household unemployment rate, versus the one now. So right now, that's at 0.43 off that 3-month average. So, a little below recession level. We get this thing called the smooth recession probability, which spikes up, and now that is 1%, although it's been rising from 0.2% back in August and June to 1%, if you think that worries them. Then we get the NBER recession-based indicators, which toggle between 0 and 1, Terry. It's just a flat outright either we are or we aren't, and that is actually good, 0. And then the 4th one is, well, that's very interesting, the GDP-based recession indicator, not a job-based one, which is really a good one to know about and probably the best one here. And that's currently at a low 2.4% probability, because ultimately, Terry, recessions are about output. They really are not about jobs or leading indicators. So while the 4th one is the least popular for being looked into, I really like it best as an economist, and I think you should know about it.
All right, so they're located on the Fred website, and you've written recently that there are 3 ways to interpret these indicators, and is that information also on the Fred site?
No, I mean, I think you're just driving it. There's, business cycles can be talked about in 3 ways, from peak to peak, trough to trough, or in the middle of a cycle to the middle of a cycle. So those are just 3 ways of thinking about business cycles, because right now, we certainly started in a recession in 2020, so we're now in 2024 from a trough to a peak. We usually it's 6 or 7 years, so that's something to be thinking about. And we don't really know where the middle of this cycle is, and we certainly don't know its top.
And so what are these indicators telling you about a soft landing in our economy for next year?
We're still on track for it, Terry. That's what it says. Until further notice, we need to assume that we are going to have no landing and just carry on.
And what about those people out there who are still worried about a surprise recession next year?
Well, then they're perma bears, Terry. We get plenty of those, and there's not a whole lot I can do for those people.
Is there fading optimism beginning to emerge for more rate cuts?
I think so, and that's probably a bullish thing. I think people are realizing just how strong the AI investment boom and the infrastructure boom has been and will remain, and that there really is not enough grounds yet for the Trump trade wars taking enough of that growth down. And as long as that carries on, which is a big if, we should see a couple less rate cuts next year versus what people are predicting, which is not a dramatic change, but a change in the direction I think people should look upon favorably as stock investors.
So is the impact that you see to Donald Trump's return to the U.S. presidency, either to the economy or the markets, contained in trade wars?
Yeah, there's 2 things I think that are material for the U.S. economy. One is, the tariffing that he could do. He claims to want to do it, comprehensively. We'll see if that happens. And the other thing is, if he manages to either cut spending or cut taxes, or what mixture he comes up with, which may play out. I mean, the Department of Government Efficiency is not supposed to report to the 4th of July, 2026, so that may well be a 2026 story.
What about the outlook for global growth for the new year?
I've got numbers at 3.2% overall. They've moved down just a little bit, but the real issue is China is still at a 4.5% growth rate for the next couple of years, which, given they target 5%, having China actually undershoot their own centrally planned target is a material event. We still need to see what type of stimulus they deliver to get that 5% done.
Might there be any wild cards lurking in the shadows that would alter your outlook, either domestically or globally?
The biggest one would be peace, or the lack thereof, in the war in Ukraine, and what it would do to Europe and the Russian situation. I think that's really the big one.
Okay, number of top strong buy large cap stock picks continue to be produced, and among them, Carvana Advantest, and Vertiv Holdings.
Yeah, Kvarna is a leading e-commerce platform for buying and selling used cars. In 2023, it nearly got down into the zero area, just penny, dollars a share, and it somehow revived itself miraculously in some respects, and now it's $245 once again. Prior peak was $350. We've got a target price of $284 going forward, and I don't know enough about this because I don't buy used cars from their service, but just a remarkable story how they turned the company around.
Advantest.
Advantest, ticker ATEYY. This is a leading automatic test equipment supplier to the semiconductor industry. So long as you got NVIDIA and AMD and some of the AI-related chips and downstream other types of chips and upstream other types of chips, you've got to test equipment for those making of those chips, and this gets you to ATEYY. The target price is 70 right now. We're at 60. So Terry, this is another really great number one ranked stock to look into.
And Vertiv Holdings.
Vertiv Holdings it provides the digital infrastructure, hardware, software, analytics, and ongoing services for these data centers. They're actually in Columbus. But we've got estimate originals continue to crank up. Again, if you bought this stock in 2023, you could buy it for $15 a share. We've got it at $137 a share with a $158 target price. So this is a 10-bagger, Terry, over the last 2 years. The real question is if it's got any more legs in it. And just like Advantest and Vertiv, the real issue is whether it's all priced in, and it may well be the case here.
Our chief equity strategist and economist, John Blank, on recession indicators and the economy with John. I'm Terry Ruffalo. Hey, here's something you might want to check out. A just-released report, 5 stocks set to double, where Zacks experts announced their single favorite pick with the potential to gain 100% and more in the coming months. You can download the special report that names the stocks and spotlights why their upside is so exceptional at Zacks.com/promo.
This material is being provided for informational purposes only, and nothing herein constitutes investment, legal, accounting, or tax advice, or a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold a security. Do not act or rely upon the information and advice given in this podcast without seeking the services of competent and professional legal, tax, or accounting counsel. Publication and distribution of this podcast is not intended to create, and the information contained herein does not constitute an attorney-client relationship. No recommendation or advice is being given as to whether any investment or strategy is suitable for a particular investor. It should not be assumed that any investments in securities, companies, sectors, or markets identified and described were or will be profitable. All information is current as of the date herein and is subject to change without notice. Any views or opinions expressed may not reflect those of Zacks Investment Research as a whole.